Before anything else takes over your day, before stress creeps in, before the pressures start to set in, pause. Take a deep breath and notice. You have a choice to make. The first thing you do when you wake up has the power to define not only your day, but your life. Don't let the rush of the morning or the worries of the world dictate your course. When your eyes open, allow yourself to feel the weight of God's grace over you. This moment is your chance to choose where your trust will be placed. When you wake up, faith is your first line of defense against uncertainty. Faith doesn't wait for everything to be perfect or for all the answers to be given. Faith starts with a simple act of surrender. Before anything else steals your attention, choose to trust in God. This is the moment to set your faith in motion. The morning is not just a routine, it is a divine opportunity. You begin your day with purpose, knowing that by trusting in God, He will lead each step. As soon as you wake up, the first thought that crosses your mind has the power to define everything. Most of us, before even getting out of bed, start mentally racing through the day, planning, worrying about what was left undone yesterday, or anticipating what needs to be done. But what if instead you did something different? What if instead of getting lost in the rush of the world, you chose to put God at the center of your first thought? It's true that the world demands our attention, our haste, and our constant pressures. But when you place God as your first thought upon waking, something supernatural happens. You are making a choice of priority, of trusting that He is the starting point for everything. God is not something to be remembered after everything else is in place. He is the reason you begin each day. Imagine for a moment starting the day with a simple yet powerful prayer. Lord, I put you at the center of this day. Before anything else, I give you my mind, my heart, my worries, and my dreams. Let your peace rule over all that I do today. This is not just a formality or a list of requests. It's a declaration of trust, a reminder that when you begin with God, He leads, He guides, He directs. We all go through moments where fear tries to take hold, whether it's fear of the future, uncertainty, or things we cannot control. And when fear begins to rise, the natural reaction is often to feel small in its presence, as if it has the power to paralyze us. But what you may not realize is that when you wake up, God has already placed something bigger inside you, faith. Faith does not come after fear appears. It is already within you, waiting to be awakened. True faith is not the absence of fear, but the confidence we have even in the face of it. When you find yourself facing situations that provoke insecurity, your faith is the silent force that, even in moments of doubt, knows you are not alone. This is where true transformation begins. As you face fear, you have a choice to give in to panic and anxiety, or to remember that God is with you and that in His presence fear cannot dominate. Faith is not about the absence of difficulty, but the certainty that, even when you cannot see the solution, God already has it ready. When fear comes, stop for a moment and remind yourself, the faith God placed in you is greater than any fear. It's in this moment of trust in God that you find the true courage to keep moving forward. As soon as you wake up, you may feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Anxiety creeps in, perhaps in the form of worries about work, the future, or personal situations you cannot control. The feeling of not knowing what to expect from the day ahead can be overwhelming. But the truth you need to remember is simple. God is present right now in this moment. Anxiety comes when we believe we are alone in our struggles or that we don't have the tools to handle what's coming. But the divine reality is that God has never left you. He has never abandoned you. His presence is constant, regardless of how we feel or the circumstances we face. Even when you don't feel it, even when emotions or challenges tell you otherwise, He is there. By placing God at the center of your morning, you are beginning with this profound truth. God is with me. He is ahead of me. He guards me from behind, and He is by my side. This simple understanding changes everything. When you recognize God's presence in your life, anxiety loses its power over you. You don't have to carry the weight alone, because He is already carrying it with you. He is your strength in the battles, your peace in the storms, and your calm amidst the confusion. The mind is a battlefield. What you think upon waking up has the power to shape the way you view the world throughout the day. If upon waking you allow fear to take hold, everything around you will seem overwhelming. But here's the key: face fear with faith. True faith doesn't depend on what we can see or touch, but on what we know God has already prepared. Trusting before you see is believing that, even if the path is unclear, God is already working behind the scenes. This is not a blind leap, but an active trust, knowing that even when you cannot see the solution, God has already paved the way. When you begin your day with the confidence that God is ahead of you, you are already overcoming obstacles before you face them. This isn't about ignoring the challenges or pretending they don't exist, but about acknowledging that God is greater than any problem or difficulty. By choosing to trust before you see, you allow God to transform the impossible into the possible. The morning prayer is more than just words, it is a declaration of trust. When you kneel or stand before God as you wake up, you're not simply asking for blessings or answers, you're declaring that, regardless of the day ahead, you choose to trust Him. Prayer is not just asking for help, but an act of surrender, recognizing that God has control over everything to come. When you begin the day with sincere prayer, you are affirming to your heart and mind that you depend on Him, that there is nothing greater than His presence. Each word spoken in prayer becomes a reading of your spirit, a reflection of the faith you choose to have. Lord, I don't know what today will bring, but I trust that, with your guidance, I can face it all. These are not empty words. They are affirmations of surrender and complete trust. Sometimes, the day begins with obstacles in sight, problems at work, family challenges, or personal situations you don't know how to solve. It's easy to give in to despair or uncertainty when obstacles seem insurmountable. But here's the key: trust before you see. Faith does not depend on what we can see, it depends on what we know God is already preparing. Trusting before you see is believing that, even when the way isn't clear, God has already provided a solution. That doesn't mean the obstacles disappear immediately, but it means that God is greater than the challenges. By choosing to trust before even having a clear answer, you allow God to handle what is beyond your control. Trusting before you see is the gateway to victory. By making that choice, you allow God to work in the unseen and reveal His plans in His perfect time. The world has a way of making us carry a heavy burden. Worries, fears, anxieties, if we're not careful, they start to dominate, weighing heavily on our hearts and minds. Often we try to hold everything on our own, thinking that it's our responsibility to resolve it all. But true peace comes from surrender. The peace that comes from surrender is when you place your fears, worries, and insecurities into God's hands and choose to trust that He will take care of everything. Surrender does not mean giving up or giving in to despair. It means recognizing that you don't have to carry the weight of the world by yourself. When you place your concerns in God's hands, you're not abandoning your responsibility. You're putting your trust in His divine solution. As you wake up and start your day with this act of surrender, you remove the weight of anxiety and replace it with a peace that surpasses understanding. Each day is a new opportunity, a new chance to see God's power working in your life. But for that to happen, it's crucial that you begin your day with the right attitude. When you start the day with faith, when you place your trust in God from the moment you wake up, you are declaring from the start that the day will be led by His hand, and that no matter what comes, He will be with you every step of the way. Start your day by blessing it with a prayer of faith, not just asking for blessings, but making a declaration of victory. When you pray and ask God to guide your steps, you are setting an expectation that, at the end of the day, you will see His hand at work. This doesn't mean you'll be free from difficulties, but it means that, even in those challenges, you will know that God is working for your good. When you begin with faith, you are setting yourself up for victory, one step at a time, knowing that He is already working on your behalf. This is the promise He gives you. He is with you every moment, guiding and sustaining you until the very end of the day. In our weakness, we often feel unable to face the challenges of the day. We are not perfect, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed by the weight of our responsibilities. But here's the truth: God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. Surrendering doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're allowing God's power to work in and through you. It's in the moments of surrender that you are empowered to face what's ahead with courage and strength, knowing that God is with you. When you surrender your weakness, you receive His strength. It's easy to get lost in worrying about the future. We often become consumed by what may happen tomorrow, next week, or next year. But true peace comes when you decide to trust God with today. The Bible reminds us to not worry about tomorrow, Matthew 6:34, because today is the day we can live in His grace and presence. Trusting God with today means fully surrendering the moment, knowing that He is enough for the present and He holds the future in His hands. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools to shift your mindset. When you start your day by acknowledging the good things God has already done in your life, you're focusing on His faithfulness rather than your problems. Thankfulness changes your perspective. It opens your heart to see His blessings even in difficult circumstances. By choosing to focus on gratitude first thing in the morning, you invite peace and joy into your day, trusting that no matter what challenges arise, God's goodness is already at work in your life. The pace of life can feel overwhelming, and we often want things to move faster, especially when we're facing obstacles. But God's timing is always perfect. Patience in the process is trusting that God's plan is unfolding at just the right time. It's understanding that He knows what you need, when you need it, and how He will bring it about. By walking in His timing, you release the pressure of trying to control everything and allow His peace to guide you through each step of the day. Praise is more than a song, it is a powerful weapon. When you begin your day with praise and worship, you are declaring God's goodness over your life and circumstances. Praise shifts the atmosphere, bringing peace and joy that nothing else can provide. It's an act of faith recognizing that God is sovereign and worthy of worship, regardless of your situation. When you worship, you invite God's presence into your day, and His power becomes the foundation for everything you do. Life is full of unexpected trials, and at times they can feel like too much to bear. When we face challenges that seem overwhelming, it's easy to feel weak, unsure, or even ready to give up. But faith builds resilience. When we trust in God, even in the toughest moments, we begin to see how He strengthens us through the adversity. Faith doesn't eliminate the hardships. Instead, it provides the spiritual strength to endure them with a sense of peace and purpose. In times of difficulty, faith is the anchor that holds you steady. It transforms your mindset, allowing you to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. By trusting that God is shaping you through every trial, you develop a resilience that only comes from knowing He is with you. Faith doesn't just help you survive, it empowers you to thrive through life's struggles. Through this process of building resilience, you begin to realize that your faith is not just a shield against fear, but also a source of incredible strength that can turn any setback into a stepping stone. The more you lean into your faith during difficult times, the more your spirit becomes steadfast, and you discover that your weaknesses are often the soil where God's greatest strength is cultivated. Fear often holds us captive, whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, or even the fear of the unknown. It creates chains that bind our hearts and minds. But the Bible tells us that God has not given us a spirit of fear but of power, love, and a sound mind, 2 Timothy 1:7. When we place our trust in God, we release those chains. We choose to step into the freedom He offers, knowing that He is the one who holds our future. Trusting in God removes the control that fear has over us. It doesn't mean that fear won't try to creep in. It means that fear no longer has a hold on us. When we trust God, we choose to walk in freedom, freedom from anxiety, from self-doubt, and from the constant pressure to be perfect. Through faith, we can embrace the truth that we are loved, we are protected, and that nothing can separate us from God's perfect peace. By trusting God, we can step boldly into the unknown, knowing that even if we don't have all the answers, He is with us. This freedom isn't just about emotional release, it's about a deep spiritual surrender that allows us to fully embrace the life God has called us to. As we trust Him more, we live more freely, no longer held back by the chains of fear but empowered by His presence. Each day offers a new opportunity for grace. God's grace is not something that is earned, it is a gift freely given. When we wake up, we have the chance to embrace that grace, acknowledging that we don't have to be perfect to receive it. Grace is not for those who have it all together. It is for those who are willing to surrender their weaknesses and let God's love flow through them. Surrendering to God's grace means recognizing that we don't have to carry our burdens alone. It's not about doing everything right or having everything figured out. It's about allowing His grace to cover our imperfections and empower us to move forward. Every new day is a fresh start, and God's grace makes it possible to begin again, no matter where we've been or what we've done. By embracing grace, we learn to walk in the freedom of forgiveness and the beauty of new beginnings. We no longer have to live in the shadow of past mistakes or regrets. Grace allows us to move forward with hope, trusting that God's plan for our lives is far greater than anything we can imagine. It is in surrendering to this grace that we discover the power of transformation. When we let go of our need for control and trust God's grace, He opens the door to new possibilities and greater purposes in our lives. In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to get caught up in temporary struggles and challenges. We focus on the immediate, on what's in front of us today, work, relationships, and personal issues. But when we trust God, we are invited to lift our eyes and see things from an eternal perspective. This shift in focus changes everything. When we live with an eternal perspective, we recognize that our present circumstances are only temporary. We begin to see that God's purpose for us is much bigger than what we face today. The trials we experience, though painful, are only a small part of the story God is writing for our lives. Trusting God means viewing every hardship as an opportunity to deepen our faith, knowing that there is an eternal reward for our perseverance. Living with this perspective allows us to let go of the small things that often consume us and focus on the things that truly matter. We stop worrying about things that have no lasting value and begin investing our time and energy in things that will bear eternal fruit. The more we trust God, the more we begin to live in alignment with His eternal purpose, and our priorities shift accordingly. As we keep our eyes on eternity, we experience a peace that surpasses all understanding, knowing that God is at work in everything and nothing is wasted. God's promises are unfailing. They are not dependent on our circumstances or feelings. They are grounded in His unchanging nature. When we wake up each day, we have the opportunity to stand on God's promises, which are the firm foundation for our hope and faith. His word assures us that He will never leave us or forsake us, Hebrews 13:5, that He works all things together for good, Romans 8:28, and that He will provide for our every need, Philippians 4:19. Trusting in God's promises means living in the certainty that God's word is true, today, tomorrow, and forever. When we hold on to His promises, we have hope for the future, knowing that He is faithful to complete the work He has begun in us, Philippians 1:6. God's promises are not just for the distant future, they are for today, giving us the strength to face whatever comes our way. By trusting in His word, we find the courage to step forward with boldness and confidence. We don't have to worry about the unknown because we know that God has already secured our future in His hands. When we stand on His promises, we live with the assurance that no matter what happens, God is always faithful, always present, and always at work on our behalf.